So it looks like we're continuing the annual tradition of don't bring your kids to Halloween Horror Nights. It's simple, folks. Just don't do it. We've been doing this video annually for the past 3 years now. First, we did it as a little skit. Then we did it as an actual response, which to this day still gets thousands of views, when it was actually a very, very nice scare actor that we've met recently. Yeah, just don't bring your kids to these Halloween Horror Nights events. And, you know, that video was doing so well that I didn't think I would have to make another one for quite some time until yesterday, thanks to Scott from SoCal Exploring, who tweeted out this image right here. I don't know anything about this video. Don't know anything about it, but it's saying, should you bring your kids to Halloween Horror Nights? That's enough of a trigger for me. I figured we're going to try something different this year. Instead of me making a separate video, it's going to be another reaction video where I'm going to be watching the video right here. And then we're going to break down afterward a bit of a response. Starting this off, I have no psychiatric training of any sort. I wasn't a psychology major. The only thing is I'm a brother of 3. I'm the oldest. I'm practicing juvenile law, 1/3 a lawyer right now. And so this is a bit of a passion of mine, especially in the wellness of children and providing a voice for the voiceless. So let's dive in and see what this video says. All right. So I don't know anything about this channel. This is Brian from Orlando. This isn't in any way meant for me to be punching down. If you're here for the drama, probably going to be disappointed in this video. If you're here because you're a Halloween Horror Nights fan, because you're a recent parent who loves Halloween Horror Nights and this might be your first season, or if you just are here for any other reason, you'll probably be entertained with this video. But if you're here for the drama, it's going to disappoint you. So, Brian from Orlando, tips for Horror Nights with Kids 2021. 5 things you need to know before bringing kids to HHN. It's water. It's like 100 degrees outside. It's water. Here we go.
With Halloween Horror Nights fastly approaching and everybody planning their trips, for some of you, that means bringing your kids along with you. In this video, we're going to go over everything that you need to know about bringing your kids with you to HHN.
All right, I'm going to stop right there at the 15-second mark. They're cute. They're a cute couple. I can see why they're building a following pretty quickly.
Welcome back to the channel and another Halloween Horror Nights video. We all know that Halloween Horror Nights could be a very intense event.
True. Very intense. That's why I didn't start until junior year of high school. I know. Bit of a late bloomer, but I was never really into horror before I met Josue.
Especially for younger audience. Halloween Horror Nights recommends those who are visiting the event to be of 13 years of age or older. However, there isn't an age limit of those who can visit the event.
Yeah, we've seen our fair share of young fans at the event, like even babies.
Yeah, so they of course bring up what this channel has brought up, babies. Yes, bringing babies to the event.
We personally don't recommend bringing your baby to the event.
Good.
Unless your baby demands it.
No. Even if your baby was demanding it, don't bring your baby to the event.
Get me to Horror Nights. So we'll be discussing 5 tips for taking your kid to Horror Nights to ensure that they have a great time.
Now, starting off with our first major tip, and this one actually begins way before the event starts, and that is to let your kids know in advance. You don't want to surprise them with a visit to HHN, mother. Unless your kids are into that stuff, then maybe a surprise could be fun.
No, okay, so we're already seeing some red flags in tip number 1. First of all, Brian, I don't know what that comment was about your mother. She tricked you into going to Halloween Horror Nights. I'm sorry. Okay, telling your kids that they're going to Horror Nights is not sufficient preparation for Horror Nights. If you want to take your child to Halloween Horror Nights, they need to at least have gone through some form of a haunted house, whether it be a home haunt. Very much here in Southern California, we have those, and I'm pretty sure in Florida that's pretty common as well. Or go to a horror convention with your child, and that way they can get a little bit more exposure to the monsters. If it's too intense for them there, it's actually also cheaper to be doing those events. Do those instead.
So there's two really great ways to get your kids prepared for HHN. The first is to have them get involved in the planning of your visit. So have them plan out what houses and scare zones they want to go through, maybe pick out a few snacks that they want to try out, and a few rides that you can go on while you're there as well.
And that.
So you can plan everything, right? Children don't really understand concept. When they're as little as 3 years old, they don't really, and even they can be as old as 5 or 6, they don't really understand the concept of planning, right? So you could be throwing ideas of, hey, there's a Beetlejuice house, Jimbo, let's go to that. And they'll be like, okay, right? All right, Beetlejuice. Maybe they've seen that movie a couple of times. They like that movie. Great. The picture is completely different to a child than having the physical presence. The connection does not exist between what is seen on a screen versus what is shown in real life, right? Take, for example, a child seeing a spider in a jar. It's a cast of a spider, right? It never was a real spider. It's been made of bronze, but it looks like a spider. That child will never understand, no matter how many times you tell them that it is a fake spider. If they walk by it and they are a little worried, they're a little scared, a little creeped out by seeing that, it's still a spider to them. It still possesses that threat, and it still possesses that amount of fear in that child. Doesn't matter if you tell them, we're going to go to a haunted house where there's arachnids, and they say, okay. If they still have that fear of a fake spider that's maybe on top of a bookshelf in your house, they still possess that fear, what is it that you think taking them to a horror event is going to change? Right? It won't. And snacks, that's great, right? You could also make snacks at home. I know a lot of our fellow channels, such as Theme Park Duo, fantastic people, they recreate some of these Halloween Horror Nights snacks, like pizza fries, right? You all Floridians love pizza fries. You can make it at home. You don't need to spend over $100 to get a snack at an event if that's the only thing you're doing.
That is a tip later in this video we will dive more into.
And then the second way to get them prepared is to show them videos of the event from YouTube. So,
all right. So like I just mentioned, right? We do HHN videos, right? We do walkthroughs, we do preparation videos, we do speculation videos, we do everything, right? You could watch that, and what you're seeing from our reactions is us being scared, right? Some people say that we're faking it for the videos. I know I don't fake any of my reactions for the videos because I get scared very easily. I do. And, I'm quite proud of that, right? And showing it to someone, like let's say you have a significant other who is interested in going to events, so you're like, oh, hey, let's look at this walkthrough of this maze. That's not enough. Seeing it in your home on a tiny phone screen, right? This, no matter how pixelated, right? It could be 4K on your phone. This screen is not even a 1/12 of my size. So, that looked kind of intense, but I can do it. That's the same as, watching someone skydive. Oh, that looks intense, but I could do it. And then you actually do it. Not at all the same watching a video of someone doing it, going through an experience, and you personally having that experience. Because you don't know if you'll have the same experience, same reaction as the person in that video.
There are plenty of videos on YouTube of the houses and the scare zones from past years, and you can have them watch those to get a good idea of what it's like and how scary it will be.
Now, this is just a little side pro tip for you parents. Be sure to stay updated on the events announcements when it comes to the houses and scare zones, and the reason being behind that, back in 2019, HHN had Ghostbusters, Stranger Things, and Killer Clowns as houses, which they weren't like frightening houses. They were pretty fun to go through. We enjoyed them. So your kids have a higher chance of actually enjoying those experiences from those houses versus probably some of the other more like intense houses.
Again, Ghostbusters, the idea itself, pretty harmless, right? It's horror adjacent, it's horror comedy. There still were those scenes in Darkness where you have Slimer and you have other ghouls and monsters coming out from the darkness. That is still very traumatizing to a child. That having that concept of what you see on the screen is not the same. Killer Clowns from Outer Space, yes, okay. It's a fun, wacky B movie. We've interviewed John Mazzari. We interviewed the creative team behind that movie. It's fun as an adult. As a child, clowns are clowns, and if you put the title Killer in front of them, yes, they're not as intense as a Saw maze or a Saw house. These are still going to be too much for your child who has never experienced a haunted house before. If their only experience is from a smartphone or from your big screen TV, not enough.
Moving on to our second major tip, which is to bring some headphones or earplugs. So this event is very loud, especially...
Okay, so I'm laughing at this because this was a trick Josue would do. I'm sorry, I'm ratting you out, bro. This is a trick we would do when we were in high school. We would do earplugs if it got too intense. High school, right? You're bringing children, your kids into this event, and your solution is earplugs. Let's say that they are like the state of the art, right? Completely noise canceling, right? That doesn't take away the fact that they still have their other senses. Maybe they have sight still. Maybe they can still see the monsters with the chainsaws coming straight at them. Doesn't matter that they can't hear it, they will still have those visuals. And when they are as young as 3, they cannot distinguish a visual from being fake, like on a screen, or being real when it's coming at it.
Especially inside the houses, and the noise level can be a little uncomfortable for kids.
Even adults have a hard time with the noise level in these houses.
I agree. I completely agree. Even adults have issues with these sounds.
Having some earplugs or headphones can help the kids feel more comfortable and protected, and we have seen both kids go through with headphones and without headphones, and the difference in their reactions is pretty noticeable.
And trust me when I say this, the ones who did not have those headphones look like they almost had a near-death experience.
Near-death experience. Maybe they shouldn't have gone to Halloween Horror Nights in the first place.
Now, our third major tip is to make sure that you and your kids have eaten before the event starts. We have mentioned this in a video previously, which we'll go ahead and leave a link to that above in the video and down below in the description. But this is so important of a note to take because this will help you get the most out of your day.
And we do all know that kids tend to get a little cranky when they're hungry, and you don't want a cranky kid with you at HHN, especially waiting in those long lines for houses.
That's not going to be the reason why they're cranky. If they're cranky just because of the wait time, that is the least of your problems.
And speaking of long lines for the houses, you're going to want to make sure that your kids have used the restroom before you get into the line. Sometimes the lines for these houses can exceed well over an hour, and most of them are actually located backstage. There are plenty of restrooms located throughout the park, so try to make it a priority of yours when you are walking around and you pass by one to always ask your kids if they need a bathroom break.
Okay, so this is very much an Orlando thing, right? The closest we have here in Hollywood is the tram, the Terror Tram, where there are no bathrooms during the tram. You have to go. It's advised that you go before you enter the line. Fine, that's. I think that's a great idea. Show of hands, how many of you have siblings where you tell them, "Do you need to go to the bathroom? Do you need to go to the bathroom?" No. Are you sure? You don't need to. It's right here. We can't go. We can't go when we're in line. And then 20, 30 minutes into the line, or maybe right before you go to the top, I have to use the bathroom. Again, that's your own personal experience. If you want to deal with that, bring your kids. If you don't, just don't bring your kids.
Now, our fourth major tip for your kids is to take them on some of the rides that are open during HHN. Universal does have quite a few rides that they leave open during the event, like The Mummy, Transformers, and Rip Ride Rocket, to name a few. And this will not only help diversify your kids' experience, but also will give them a break from some of the scares.
And one of the great...
Sure, we do rides. We used to do Jurassic Park in the Dark, Transformers, Mummy, the ride, or Simpsons sometimes even. The rides have a lot fewer wait time. I think that's a great tip for any age. Yeah, not just for kids. We like rides too.
Things about HHN is that the rides usually have a very, very low wait time. What I mean by that is most of the time you won't see any of those rides exceed a 10-minute wait, so it's an easy walk right in and get right on the ride situation. However, not all of the rides are actually operational during the event, and the ones that are operational, they actually have different closing times than the event's closing time. So we'll be doing a video down the road to explain more on the attractions that are open during Halloween Horror Nights in the future.
And then our fifth and final major tip is to play some Carnival games. So Halloween Horror Nights will actually have some pop-up booths of Carnival games that you can play and win prizes that are actually special to the event.
Yeah, not only is it fun just for your kids to play games, but it's also very rewarding for them to win one of those little rewards that they have at these booths.
Yeah.
All right, so I understand that these Carnival games are probably exclusive to HHN. Fine. If it's the areas that I remember from seeing videos and from inside sources, they're by scare zones. And again, going back to the idea of the intensity, there's not really any part in Universal, in Horror Nights, where you have a breather, right? You hear the event the entire time. You see the event the entire time. The scare zones are very active. There's a lot of the actors going through them. I mean, if you're already there and you paid the money and your child is scared, and you want to do a carnival, I mean, all right.
And these different prizes they can actually carry with them through the houses, and it will give them some sort of comfort, and they can hide their faces with them if it gets a little too scary.
No. If you are worried that your child needs comfort, if you are worried that your child needs some support animal holding on to something during these events, going through these houses, don't bring your child. No. Stop. No.
Kids love receiving gifts, especially winning them at one of these booths. They kind of get this little sense of accomplishment. And it's a good little souvenir, so when they get back home, they know they had a good time at this event.
All right,
Mommy and Daddy, thank you for taking me to Halloween Horror Nights. I will treasure this Scratchy that I have won as the day that I was traumatized forever.
Everybody, so those are our 5 tips for bringing your kids to HHN. Of course, these are our own opinions from our own experiences at HHN. We have seen kids at the event absolutely love to go through the houses and the scare zones. So you know your kid better than anybody else, so you're ultimately going to make that decision for them.
And if any of you guys have some other great tips or ideas that we haven't mentioned as well, we would love to hear back from you, so let us know down in the comments below. Thank you all for watching.
Okay, so they brought up a good point. You know your kids better than anyone. It's true. If you know your child is going to, maybe you've taken your child through horror adjacent events before, home haunts and going to these conventions. There are some kids that this doesn't faze them at all. In fact, that they enjoy it. If that is your child, if that is your sibling, go for it. The point that I'm making is that it needs to be communicated with that child, and that child needs to understand what they are about to experience. This is not a lighthearted event, and if they are unaware of what they are getting into, that's where I have an issue.
Maybe we'll catch you and your little ones in the fog.
Bye.
Bye, guys. I'm a little one, and I go to horror nights too. Take me to horror nights.
Cute dog. Okay, so that's the video. Well edited. Those points were somewhat acceptable. The biggest issue that I have with this video is the idea that just because you are showing your kids, just because you are planning the event with them, that they are somehow prepared for Halloween Horror Nights. They are not. They are not. And if you are a young parent and you are with a young child, that's even worse because they are even more not prepared. They are so young that they don't even understand what you are telling them. They just know that if you say something in a voice that's like, you want this, right? And they say, yeah, because they like to make you happy. They like to see that big smile on their mom and their dad's face. They love to see it on their siblings. They will agree to anything. They don't understand the implications of Halloween Horror Nights. They won't. Or Hallow Scream. I saw in their little intro they do Hallow Scream. The same thing applies. Halloween Horror Nights is in many ways a 13 years and older event. There are houses, yes, that are a little more easygoing. Like, I'm sure the Beetlejuice house this year will not be as intense as a Saw or as an Evil Dead or as any of the Universal monsters or Tooth Fairy for you Floridians. This is not something that you can just wave your hand through. You are paying serious money for these events, right? That money could easily be put down for a babysitter or for daycare, or use that money for a different event, right? Walt Disney World has their Mickey's Boo Bash going on. I know it's somewhat a ripoff, but it's also Disney. Disney is very family friendly. Take them there if you want a Halloween event. You have these different avenues and these different opportunities to take your children to have these events, these experiences. They don't need to have all their Halloween experiences at Halloween Horror Nights when they're not ready. And the biggest issue that I have with bringing children to these events, that get so scared that they run out of the houses, that look like they're scared to death, as Brian puts, or, you know, that they're clutching onto their security animal because they need to feel comfort because they're not feeling any of that comfort, even with their noise-canceling headphones. The issue is that you failed. You failed. So don't take your children, because it's not an isolated event. And I promise you, just because you're taking your children does not mean the scare actors are going to hold back. In fact, a lot of the scare actors have told me when they see a child, they go even harder to make a point for the parents. You don't want that. Your kids certainly don't want that. So, do us all a favor. If your kid has never had any haunt experience, has never gone to a haunted house, has never seen, I don't even want to say it, never seen a horror movie, right? If you're just showing them movies and videos and expecting that to be sufficient, it's not. It's so not. The videos out there, they're not the best quality because they can't be. They're not 360. They only apply to one sense. They don't apply to touch, to feel, to hearing very well. I mean, microphones kind of have a limit. They don't hear everything. And you don't want that experience, because if you really are passionate about Halloween Horror Nights, this is your thing, right? Maybe you and your significant other, before having kids, this is what you bonded over. Then keep that between you two. Make it a date night, right? What's wrong with making it a date night? Don't bring your kids if they've had zero experience in any form of a scare attraction before Halloween Horror Nights, or Hallowscream, or Dark Horizon, or Not Scary Farm, or Fright Fest, or Horror Made Here, or on and on and on. Videos don't cut it. All right, that's where I'm ending it. Hopefully this got to some of you. If it didn't, it didn't. And I will see you at the haunt event. And don't worry, I will be the person to tell you your child is afraid. Take them home, please. If you like this video, make sure to hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. All of our social media. And the full video, if you feel like I edited anything out. The full video, Brian from Orlando. Tips for Horror Nights with Kids for 2021. Top link in the description down below. Thank you all so much for watching. And I will see you next year for the next edition of Don't Bring Your Kids to Halloween Horror Nights 101. Stay safe out there.